So, welcome to the Payments Leader Show, and welcome back to part two of our 50th celebratory edition with Keith Douglas. Keith, hi, how you doing?
Hi, Adrian. Good to be back.
Excellent, excellent. And Anand Patel. Hi, Anand, how you doing?
Good to see you again, Adrian.
Good. Well, we just had a fascinating conversation centered around leadership and Keith's defining belief, which is that leadership is not about being in charge, but taking care of those in your charge. So go back and listen to that on part one. And he left us with a real deep thought from a quote from David Rocastle, who was unfortunately passed away now, very famous Arsenal player, about understanding whom you are, where you're from, and what you represent. And I think that goes to the deep heart of what leadership is all about, is knowing yourself first and then showing up authentically. And then Alan, I think, was very clear to show the value of behaviors driving culture and culture driving results which we all want, and high performance. There's the left-hand side of the equation there, which is creating a psychologically safe environment with the right culture and the right set of behaviors. And that starts with yourself as a leader. How do you show up every day? But the common theme was about trust. And the very industry we operate, an ecosystem we operate in, is built on trust in payments. So I wonder if we could talk a little bit more about the industry now, gents. So, Anand, what is it? What's the one thing we hear? We go to conferences a lot, and we hear lots about AI. We hear lots about embedded finance and open finance and fraud and all sorts of things. But which one piece of all the innovations that can reduce friction so all boats can rise across our industry, which one opportunity in the payments industry most excites you right now?
Oh, I mean, great question, Adrian. You know, I'd say we're seeing a lot more collaboration around the ecosystem, right? So fintechs, banks, and platform partners are creating more value than when individuals do it in silos, right? And I think that element really excites me, that we're seeing far more partnerships come up. Every day I turn LinkedIn on, there's a MasterCard partner with, it is a so-and-so's partnered with. Yeah. And I love that, because actually I think the true value of the payment industry and the delivery we have and what we can do comes from the collaboration. And actually it plays a strong part of my heart of working together to win, right? Yeah. So it sort of helps that. So I'm loving seeing more and more partnerships and collaboration coming forward. And that excites me the most. It's actually more than I've ever seen, and it's getting even faster.
Wow. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Keith?
Yeah, no, and actually, one of the things we talked about in part one was around the team, and but picking up on what Anand said, together is always better, and hence the importance of partnership, the importance of both technology as well as the regulatory environment in which we operate, enabling and facilitating those partnerships. And I guess the thing that excites me right now is in the payments context, which is an ever-changing context. There's always plenty of things to excite us, isn't there, Anand? As well as from time to time to worry us. But the thing that excites me most is the UK government's through Treasury's ambition around a national payment vision and a roadmap to support that, which includes the world that I operate in, which is account-to-account payments. It includes the world Anand operates in terms of facilitating open banking, embedded finance, and enabling better consumer propositions, whether they are for consumers or small businesses or enterprises, through through stronger collaboration and facilitating that, through not only contractual arrangements but obviously regulatory arrangements as well. But and that's what's exciting. I think we've got an opportunity to, as an industry, collaborate in a more meaningful way, I hope in a more impactful way, to try and drive the UK back to where it was 10 years ago as the leading payments innovation market in the Western world, or in the world full stop. It no longer is, but there's a real opportunity for us to get back there, and the National Payment Vision is a framework that I think enables that collaboration and partnerships to grow and flourish.
Wow. So Keith, perhaps we could go a bit deeper then. Now, we talked about team and the value of a team and the value of collaboration. What are the, if I was to ask you for three key ingredients that actually make an effective partnership, what would they be for you? Well, what's critical?
That's a very good question. Let me think about that. I think I think what's important in a partnership is at least in conversations that lead to some form of contractual or business outcome is one, there needs to be an openness to engage. There needs to be a willingness to understand the bigger picture, or indeed the people that you're partnering with, what's in it for them. Because obviously 2 + 2 can equal 5, but but you need to be able to ensure that there's a win-win for both or the multiple partners. But I think the real thing around a partnership and success is when both parties are able to think through. I guess are able to put aside some of the challenges they experience and think about the bigger picture. It's something that I always kind of refer to as, you've got to see the opportunity in everything, and then embrace the challenge about how you get there. And I think if going in with that kind of mindset to a partnership, about seeing the opportunity first, and then thinking about how you tackle the challenges to get there, I think is critical to kind of a successful outcome. But listen, the man in front of me here on the screen, Anand, knows better than most about how to drive partnerships. He is an expert and a genius at it. So I'll let him give you his perspective on that as well.
Oh, but I mean, Keith, I was actually going to, just say I absolutely 100% agree with you. I'm going to use the word trust, right? In a partnership, you need trust. Then you're right, shared goals, right? It's about shared goals. And Keith, you're right. Can you see the forest beyond the trees, right? Can you actually make sure we've got a goal? And then it's around co-creation, co-collaboration, making things happen. And I think that exactly what Keith said is critical is, first of all, let's actually make sure we trust each other. So let's get past it's them and us. It's actually we. And then actually, as you say, that shared goal and shared vision and shared dream is definitely something, think big, think beyond today, and then being able to create from it is critical. And I actually truly believe that partnerships, as we said, and I was very clear on that, more collaboration going on in the industry is only going to accelerate payment success. And Keith, I think the UK and London in particular is definitely one of the biggest and most innovative places in payments. It's actually the hotbed of it. And other places are definitely creating and innovating, but I think that we've definitely got it nailed, that more and more is happening out of the UK.
If we could just switch gears a little bit, what do you see as, well, I'm going to put it out there straight away, obviously, fraud. And I seen a great quote the other day from Michael Meback, actually. He was being interviewed by the Norwegian Sovereign Fund. And he said, actually, we have a responsibility as an industry. We let the economy down was the implication. Fraud lets the economy down, or payments lets the economy down when we do that. So fraud's obviously the big one. What do you see as the biggest threat to the innovation and allowing all boats to rise across the payments industry?
I mean, I've got a view on that, right? And I think you're right. Fraud is there. I had dinner with an MD of a big retail bank who manages fraud, and he was mentioning a couple of fraud methods. I mean, how intelligent fraudsters are getting worries me, and how simple they're making it look, right? So ultimately, it's always going to be a race, right? It's and I keep praying that we as an industry keep up with the fraudsters' rates, right? But the thing that actually gets me right now, and you nailed it, Adrian, which is what's actually going to help us all rise at the same time with all these new innovations, it's actually regulation. So what I find is innovation is definitely outpacing regulation, even if it's self-regulated to, of course, unfortunately, other types of regulation, but there is inconsistency across regions. So to rise all at the same time, there's actually an element of regulatory framework that needs to be put in because there's a lot of fragmentation right now. And that sort of scares me because sometimes you're trying to think about launching new products, new solutions, and want to, but you don't know where you stand in certain countries, or you're waiting for things to happen. And waiting for things to happen sometimes scares me because it could be binary of you can't do business like this or you can. Yeah. So I think there is an element of, what in my eyes, what threatens us around on top of the fraud stuff is just the fragmentation in regulation right now.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'd build on that too. Very good point by Anand. But I'd also talk about, and this is kind of more high level, but the geopolitical environment which we have been operating for a number of years now and will continue to for some time, and what that is potentially encouraging or reinforcing, and that is around nationalism. It's around own borders. It's around thinking about solutions for your market or your geographic region. And I think one of the great things about payments and the environment Anand and I work in is that it is truly global, increasingly cross-border, clearly technology, and indeed, fintech organizations have helped enhance consumer experiences in a way that, embraces, mobile, embraces technology, new experiences. And I think, for me, which is just it is a threat, it's a worry, is trying to manage that in the context of countries, and I won't state who, but countries being very focused on their own agenda. Sometimes for good reasons, but nonetheless, I think it's important that ways are found in which consumers and small businesses and enterprises get to experience the wonderful joy of payments in its many different forms, obviously in a legal compliant way, but can do so without feeling as if they are enclosed or hampered or constrained based on the geography in which they live.
Yeah, it's interesting for me. I obviously facilitate quite extensively at various conferences, and I think the term that keeps on coming up is effective regulatory guide rails that enhance innovation and get that balance. Given the challenges, though, that Keith, you mentioned there, and Anand, you mentioned as well, what mindset, though, we can't control the geopolitical situation, but what mindset can you take as leaders and for you and your teams into this environment that's going to be most productive? Anand?
I've got a couple of thoughts that come top of my head. I'm going to use that word again, trust. Right? Trust is everything when it comes to doing this, whether it's the excitement of the customer's adoption of a new technology, new payment method, or actually the threat that actually underpins it without the regulation. But collaboration beats competition any day. And that's collaboration across borders, regardless, right? Innovation and the resilience really comes from the shared infrastructure and the standards and the partnerships of making it happen. So what we've got to keep taking forward is exactly what Keith and I do every day. And like I say, Keith, I still have memories of working for Keith, and I have fond memories of working with Keith. And I'm so glad we're still friends and we get to go out and have fun and eat, and like the three of us will do. But what I will say is it truly is around culture applies to the collaboration, and it beats competition every day.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely does. I mean, I'll go back to something I said a little earlier, and just in the context of that question, Adrian, and that is bring a mindset that sees the opportunity in everything and then embraces the challenge, or then deals with the complex or the complexity or the thorny issues. Don't let the thorny issues define how you think and what the opportunities are. But you know, it's got to meet in the middle.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I think it'd be good just to bring this back both to you personally and just reflect. Now, I know it's a long time ago for you, Anna, particularly when you were 21, but I wonder if you could just take a check back. I know you look like you're 31 now. We all know that. You're going to tell us that. So, but I wonder if you could just tell us what would you share with your 21-year-old graduating self who's looking at the world, not sure what career they're going to have, and not sure where it's going to go and things. So what advice would you give to yourself back then?
Gosh, great question. I have a 26-year-old daughter and a 24-year-old son, right? So I give them the advice that I'm just about to say to you guys, right? And a couple of them comes, but one of the key things I tell them is networking, knowing people, getting to know people, helping others, ultimately is the most amazing thing you could do. And the advice I give you is to continue being yourselves and doing that, right? So I know that my daughter and my son are probably following more in my footsteps about making sure that they're talking to a lot of people regularly and making sure they're actually fingers on the pulse and being curious. And actually, the bit of advice and help I'd give them again would be continue doing that, be that, enjoy it.
Keith, what would you?
Same question to me. Yeah. I think you've heard me say this before. It's an African proverb that now in my later years in my career, I won't define my age, but
it is early 60s. It is early 60s.
and as I look back, then this kind of African proverb holds true to me, and that is, if you think you're too small to be impactful, you've never been to bed with a mosquito. And the only reason I say that is we all can have a marked impact in the environment that we work in, with the people that we connect with, no matter the fact that there are 7 billion people or so on this planet, you as an individual have an edge. You know, there's something about you that makes you a little different than most, and kind of understanding that edge, investing in that edge, you know, having a set of values and principles around how you operate, and encouraging and inspiring trust, as Anansa's just said, I think means that we can all be that mosquito.
Yeah.
What a wonderful way to bring our discussion to a conclusion there. If I may, can I just sort of reflect on some of the things that have been most salient for me?
Sure.
I think first of all, the word collaboration and the fact that collaboration and partnership has never been more prevalent than what it is in the payments across the payments ecosystem at the moment presents the opportunity to meet the opportunities and also the challenges that we're facing. It seems as if collaboration is the root to those pieces. And one of my favorite sayings in the payments industry is, even if you're a very large bank or a very large financial institution, given the very nature of the organization, you're not going to achieve very much on your own. You have to collaborate, and there has to be a dance with others. So I think that came across very strongly. I really liked what you both said about the ingredients, or the sort of secret sauce, really, what makes a good partnership, about being open, being curious, thinking of the other side and them winning, but then how do we all work together so we have multiple wins? I think the ecosystem is made up of multiple wins, and preferably 3 or 4 or 5 wins. And the more we can get people to win, then the more likely those partnerships are to be effective. But I think it comes down to that fundamental word that we've used a number of times today, which is trust. The observation for me is how deeply you both believe in trust, whether that's trust in yourself, self-trust, and trust in your own perspective, as well as collaborating with others within your team and your wider organization and the wider network to pull that collective intelligence together. I see both of you as able to raise the collective intelligence of any room or any team that you are in, which is the definition for me of a great leader. But then also reflecting on trust, which is that there's a truism, which is that costs go up when trust goes down. I think there's a reverse there, true. trust is efficient across our ecosystem, and when we take the effort to build the invisible investment, was what I was hearing there. But also that reflection from your younger selves, which is that actually, and you shared how having a purpose to help others is a natural default. And when you do that, good things come to you, but also you can walk around with a smile you have on your face permanently about sharing with the world and also having fun whilst you're doing that. And it's great you're passing that legacy on to your children. I know your father's been a beacon for you about how he should have led the way with you from that perspective. And Keith, I love that about that African proverb, because I think what it does for me, it does two things. It says you've got a responsibility and you've got a gift. And if you've got a gift, well, you've got a responsibility to use that for some good. And by the way, if we all look closely enough, we all have a gift, at least one, if not in this case, many gifts between you two gents, and use it, used to have an impact and to make a difference. So I think the three words summing this up for me are curiosity, collaboration, and trust. Any concluding thoughts, or perhaps I could pass it over to you to have some concluding thoughts.
I mean, from my perspective, Adrian, that nails the conversation, because actually, even amongst us three, those three words are 100% accurate, right? The trust, the collaboration, and everything else we do together is everything. But I want to take this opportunity and actually say a couple of things, and I know I'm sure Keith will be following up after me. But I want to thank you for being one of the most amazing advisors to me. You've actually done more than you actually will ever really understand and value, right? And I want to make sure I get this across, because I need this to be, and I know Keith will appreciate this as well. You've helped me grow as a leader. You've significantly taken me to the next level. And I love the fact, because you're bringing the best out of me. You're bringing the best of my qualities out of me. Your memory is second to none, other than my wife, of course, because she remembers things from years ago on that. But I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for both of you two gentlemen on this call. And I genuinely mean that from my heart of hearts. There are so many things that I have to thank you for. And one of those definitely is your guidance, your help, and everything you've done for me. And Mr. Douglas was one of my first bosses that truly actually believed in me and inspired me to be where I am today. So I want to thank both of you from the deepest of my heart.
Well, and I'm getting pretty choked up, if I'm honest. Thank you, and thank you for our partnership, and thank you for always being open and curious and embracing the opportunity to grow. So thank you.
Oh, you're on mute, Keith. He did so well for tonight.
My apologies. I don't know how I slipped onto mute there. I think my pen or notebook must have hit something on the keypad. But either way, I think you just had a great example, or the audience has a great example in the energy and enthusiasm and passion Anand can bring to a team and a conversation. So great words, particularly about Adrian, who I was introduced to by you, and I'm very grateful that you did introduce me, as we've had a very important and impactful working relationship over the last 5 or 6 years, Adrian. So 6 years now, I think. And I too have benefited from your counsel and your wisdom in similar and in some cases different ways, I suspect, to Anand. So and your podcast is important for our payments industry, an opportunity to hear from leaders and share reflections. So thank you very, very much for doing it and investing in it, and a delight for me, and I'm sure Anand, to be on your 50th podcast.
First and 50th. Who was your second podcast? Who was your second podcast, Adrian? Was it the gentleman on this call as well?
No, it wasn't. Was it? I think it was Mr. Van Os. Was it Martin Van Os? I think
Van Os before Keith.
No, I was. I think I might have made 10. Maybe I was into the into 11 or 12 before I was on the podcast. But delighted very much to be part of this conversation, and to feel energized by Mr. Anand Patel. It's hard not to be when you're in his company. One of his great qualities. The energy and passion he brings to people.
Well, gents, sorry. Well, gents, first of all, I just want to say to both of you, thank you very much for your kind words for me and our partnership. But I just want to thank you both for the energy that you bring and the curiosity and enthusiasm we bring both to any engagement we work on, any conversation we have. So thank you. Deeply from the bottom of my heart today, I was so excited over the weekend. I couldn't wait to record today. I didn't know where it was going to go. And I think you've both been extraordinarily well behaved, I must confess today, because this could have gone anywhere. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, because you talk about the industry there and about leading and showing an example. And that's what we do on this podcast. We want to show what good can look like and what great can look like. And you two are standout leaders. And you've been able to articulate today in a very honest, transparent, and trusted way how we can lead in this industry. So thank you so much for your time, your insights, and wisdom that you've given. The audience is going to love this and appreciate it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.